I want to cover this topic about it starts in the home. I saw a couple people that wrote that in the comment section of my last video about the Nation of Islam and today's, black male youth culture. Oh God, I can't stand that shit. I cannot stand it starts in the home. It sounds like a, Republican conservative talking point. And it irritates me because basically what you're saying, when you come with that, it starts in the home, and we already covered the economics of it, right? If a man is not able to provide for his family, he basically has no dominion over his home, over his children. I know y'all like to think that they do. Unfortunately, we got a lot of black men who are in or near poverty, and who, before getting their shit together, just decided that they were going to go off and, pass go and collect $200 and start a family. And, they like to think that they, have, control over their children. And maybe some do. I'd say a very small minority, because if they did, I don't think the community would look the way that it does. Basically, you guys run into the same problem as white conservatives who basically come with this, pull yourselves up by the bootstraps. It's just about hard work. They believe in the myth of the carrot, right? They believe in the myth of, if you just put in hard work, opportunities will find you. They believe in that bullshit. And this is why you see such a high suicide rate when it comes to white males, especially middle-aged white males. Right? Because they don't get the social services that they need, because they don't believe in social services. That's socialism. Right? And I'm not saying that there aren't valid arguments against things that the government tries to do that, look or tend to be socialist. But, when people take things to the extreme, like I said, it's like the Republican Party doesn't care enough, and the Democrat Party cares too much, to the point that they want to regulate everything, make it a nanny state and all that. You got to have some sort of balance between. And you can lean more towards, one side or the other. You can lean more towards a slightly more conservative side, but you still have to realize that, people are going to need help, at some point in their life. Most people will. And so you end up with this rhetoric that floats around, where you got poor people beating themselves and trying to beat other people over the head, with this idea that it's all about them, personal responsibility. And then they start ignoring like just basic factors. You know what I mean? And the next thing you know, it's like you find yourself 6 feet underground, in a coffin with nothing but a lighter. And the people standing on top of your grave above ground are talking, oh, stand up. Why don't you stand up? It's like, motherfucker, I'm in a box 6 feet underground with nothing but a goddamn lighter. I've been buried alive. And people literally sit there and stand on your grave talking about, why don't you stand up? Personal responsibility. It's your responsibility to stand up, because you've put yourself in a box. I see this coming from the black side, and black people irritate me when they do it, because it's like they're trying to make an appeal to white. I'm not like those other Negroes. I believe in personal responsibility. Like completely ignoring, how the system was designed against them. Just completely ignoring that, right? Or then they want to go up and they want to grab the, the tokens, and act like they have the secret sauce more than any other black person. Right? And they typically do this with celebrities. You see this with like Denzel Washington and shit. Like, they'll go up there. Nobody's saying that they're not hard workers, but life is a combination of hard work and luck. I mean, that's just a fact. But you'll get these people that go and they find themselves in a fortunate situation, and then all of a sudden it's, oh, nobody else worked as hard as me, da 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 da. If they all worked as hard as me, then they could be in the same position as me. When life is like a game of musical chairs and there's only so many seats. I got 6 people and 4 seats, and people are running around acting like we got a seat for everybody. It's a farce. It's a fallacy. But yet these people love to go up here and perpetuate, those sorts of ideas. And they don't help anybody. I'm not saying that anybody should, give up. Life is a struggle. It's a journey. You got to try hard. All that stuff. We get all that. But some of y'all don't, like you ignore when the corporate elite are screwing people over. You ignore, when, capitalism is screwing people over. You ignore these things. And especially as black people, again, first to get fired, last to get hired. We're at the bottom totem pole of that shit. We don't get the phone calls. We don't get the, hey, we got some opportunities over here to just open up. Hey, come through. No, we get the scraps. We get what's left over. Basically, if you start co-signing these sorts of ideas, what you're basically left with is everything is your fault. Your whole situation, forget the redlining, the blockbusting, the Jim Crow, the burning down of black communities, the, denial of FHA loans, the eminent domain, the urban renewal, the dumping of drugs in the black community, the mass incarceration, the assassination of black leaders, right? Just ignore all that. That has nothing to do with why black people are struggling today. No, nothing to do at all, right? None of the shit that, the shit that I threw up there about, these questionable practices of bait trucks and bait guns and bait cars and, all this conspiracy there. Everybody knows about COINTELPRO. Everybody knows about it. You can look it up. But yet somehow when you talk about this stuff still going on today, everybody wants to ignore it. Especially white conservatives, they want to ignore it. But, the way that people comes, it starts in the home, like, these people with these basic ass mindsets, like as though, you can be broke as fuck and somehow, all you need is a holy book and you'll be able to, keep your wife happy and she's going to play her role and stay in her place, and that you're going to be able to keep your children in line when you literally have little to nothing to offer them. And the crazy thing is the very principles within the holy books that these men love to present all the time as their defense mechanism clearly says in there that as a man, you need to be able to provide for your home. But I told you, it's a whole bunch of contradictory stuff in there, or stuff that people warp and manipulate to serve their own, personal situation. Here's the holy book, you don't need to have money, even though the books say clearly you need to have something. It says that you don't need to be rich and bowling out of control, but, somehow that turns into it's okay for me to be broke and dusty. And then somehow I'm going to have a wife and children that respect me on some broke and dusty shit, and I'm going to be able to maintain and keep order within my household on some broke dusty shit. That's bullshit. And your white conservatives, they eat and gobble that shit up, especially when they can apply it to black people. They don't like applying it to themselves. You see, they don't like that. But, because we see this with the opioid epidemic, crack cocaine, it was, personal responsibility. As soon as the opioid, fentanyl, just don't do drugs. Like, no, now all of a sudden we need compassion and understanding and treatment centers, and we have to help them out, and it's a drug addiction is a disease. Nobody was saying drug addiction was a disease when niggas was running around the black community as crackheads in the fucking 80s. The fuck out of here. You know what I mean? So y'all sit around and you co-sign these things that are extremely hypocritical. And they'll only be flipped and used against you just because they have a slight element of truth to them. You know what I mean? Just because, the world is fucked up doesn't mean you just throw your hands to the sky and give up. The credits are not just going to start rolling. You still got to live the rest of your life. You know what I mean? But it's like, reminds me of that Blog Talk Radio show that I went on where I had that white guy, man, he could not get around me. I came on there, it was an all white show. They were talking real bad about the black community. I wish I had that clip. I called in the show, you know what I mean? And then, we started talking about things, and I just kept bringing it back to the money. And I got him because I was like, it costs money and resources to maintain the integrity and the infrastructure of the white community. What makes you think that it's going to cost any less to maintain the integrity and infrastructure of the black community. That white man had nowhere to go. See, you get them on some mathematical shit. Because see, like, unlike us, they don't dive into magic as quickly as we do. We dive into magic and religion and sorcery and God and all this. We're quick to dive into that. But you start crunching the numbers with them, and they're like, yeah, that is true. Because they have a real bad tendency of looking at shit like what it takes them $20 to do, it should take us $3 to do. I'm like, fuck out of here. Math is math, motherfucker. The fuck out of here. See, I'm getting mad. I gotta calm down. I'm getting upset. Math is math. Like as though black people can take literally like half of what it takes white people to you know, the tools that they need, the resources that they need, the money that they need, that black people can do the same exact thing with literally half. No, see, what it comes down to is they look at us differently. They look at us like, well, we're supposed to have money. You all aren't supposed to have money. You know what I mean? You all are supposed to live these meager, you know, humble lives, these pious lives that we wouldn't tolerate for 5 seconds. You're black. That's what you're supposed to be able to exist like that. You're supposed to be in the Sowetos. You're supposed to be in the favelas. You're supposed to be in the ghettos and make it work and fall in line and adhere to, you know, our rules and regulations and way of life and orientation and everything else with a fraction of what the fuck we got. That's how white people look at you. And it makes me cringe every time I hear black people sitting there co-signing the shit. Because basically what they're going to tell you, what it's going to come down to, well, is despite the fact that you have nothing, you should be able to have a family structure and behaviors that are identical to mine, despite the fact that, you know, I have resources, my kids and family are getting what they need, and, you know, everybody's living comfortably. Oh, Susie, you need a cell phone? Oh, let's go to AT&T and right now and get you an iPhone. You know what I'm saying? Let's go to Verizon Wireless right now and get you, oh, you know, Jonathan, you need a computer? You know, you got a school project. Oh man, we can't do a school project without a computer, and we got to make sure that we got you some Microsoft Word. Got to get you that Microsoft Suite so that you can appropriately, you know, do what you need to do. This is why you get black kids that when they hop on a keyboard, they're pecking because they never had a keyboard, so they don't know how to type. With the white kids, they get in there and you think they did a damn what's the person at the what do they call this? I want to say stenographer, but I don't know if that's right or not. But, you know, the person in the court that's typing faster than people are talking. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't even fucking compare. You know? But y'all be killing me with the, starts in the home. Again, the home is only as good as the resources that are available to that home. And nobody wants to face that very unfortunate reality. Again, this is because we're not a mathematical people. We are not a mathematical people. Came to me with, well, the black community of the past had less than what black people have today. And so why is it the black community is so fucked up? Actually, black people of the past have more. And the reason they have more because a little bit that they did have was theirs. Due to Jim Crow, due to segregation, everything that they had was essentially theirs. It was in their communities, their environments. When's the last time we had white supremacy come in and burn down a black community? In the time where you want to say that black people had less, notice how we can say that those communities were burnt down. So how are you telling me that they had less when they actually had communities that were burnt down and taken away from them? Let's go through Tulsa, Elaine, Arkansas, Rosewood, Florida, Wilmington, North Carolina. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you mean that they had less? You know what I'm saying? Like you're not really understanding what it really means to actually have less. You know what I'm saying? Like when somebody's like, oh, I'm going to pay you more, but you don't get to own this. How much do you really have? You see this on Shark Tank when they go up there and they say, oh, I'll give you $200,000 right now, but you got to give me 51% ownership of the company. Oh, you don't see the trick in that? Yeah, because once somebody has 51% ownership of the company, they essentially have 100% ownership of the company. But all you see is the $200,000. See, y'all ain't thinking. And it kills me the fact that I got people that run up here and they want to act like they got the power of God on their side and they can't even see this shit. It's why I say religion cripples black people, because it teaches you to obey and it teaches you to follow, but it doesn't teach you how to think. I mean, the paradox of religion is hysterical. So let me get it right. So we're going to go out here and we're going to give religion to a bunch of people who lack discipline and expect them to obey. Think about that. These people lack discipline, but yet we're going to come up with a religion that expects them to obey, expects them to fall in line, follow rules and regulations. If they were following rules and regulations, they wouldn't be in the situation that they're in that would require the illusion of religion and feel-goodery. It's just crazy. It's crazy how people, they don't think. But anyway, I need to rush and work out. I only got like an hour left. That's my video. SWP out.